Welcome to the workshop, Our Collection Matter. My name is Marcia Loddo, and I'm a Marie Curie researcher at the Delft University of Technology in the Netherlands. So I'm happy that all of you have joined us this evening or morning or even night from all over the world. So whenever you are, I hope you have something to drink with you, and no matter if coffee or tea or beer, here in Central Europe time is almost happy hour because we have more or less 2 hours ahead together. So today, this is the problem of today. We are going to find out more about Sustainable Development Goals. We are here to hear from you and to hear about your aspiration and challenges in addressing sustainable development through working with collections. We are going to start with the presentation of the project, Our Collection Matter, by José Luis Pedersoli, and the Agenda 2030 by Henry McGee. Later, we are going to be assigned by Rins de Boer to different breakout rooms, where Luis, Henry, Rins, and Ilaria Rossetti and I are going to moderate the discussion. We will share 2 moments in the breakout room, and one before and another after the break. And the workshop will end at 7:30. At least in Central Europe, after the final remarks and conclusions. So these are some basic rules I am sure you heard before, especially this year. So I invite you all to turn off your microphone. Now I hear already somebody like Evelyn. So during the presentation, please turn off your microphone. You can raise your hand in case of a question or type in the chat. The chat will be saved and the workshop will be recorded, as you already see. So let's get started with Luis and the presentations.
Thank you, Marcia. Very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. A warm welcome to our workshop. My name is José Luis Pedersoli Jr. I work at ICCROM, and where I coordinate the Our Collection Matter initiative, which we'll be talking about and exploring together with you today. So at this point, I would just like to give you a brief background and introduction to the project before we move on. So allow me to share the screen. And very briefly, for those of you who don't know ICCROM yet, it's an intergovernmental organization that works for 137 member states around the world. So all the countries that you see in blue here on the map are member states of ICCROM, with the important and ambitious mandate to conserve and promote cultural heritage in all its forms, for the benefit of all people. Now, on to Our Collections Matter. It's a new initiative launched by ICCROM last year, 2020. And the big goal of this initiative is to enable sustainability and sustainable development through working with collections and their conservation. As you know, last year we entered what is called the Decade of Action, to deliver the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations 2030 Agenda. And our colleague Henry will talk more about the SDGs after my presentation. But this kind of sets the context for launching Our Collections Matter, because we firmly believe that heritage collections and their conservation, they have a critical role to play in sustainable development. And all the organizations that work with collections, be it museums, libraries, archives, community centers, etc., they have a huge potential to make concrete contributions towards the sustainability and sustainable development goals. There are aspirations, there are challenges, but how to do that? So we talking to colleagues across countries and across the different types of heritage organizations. we understood and felt a clear desire to contribute, but how to do it, it was not so clear. So the whole idea of sustainable development and sustainability still felt too abstract for collections managers and people working with collection on the ground. So that's where our collections method come in to bridge that gap and really connect working with collections, so collections-based work with the sustainable development targets, and unlock the potential of the heritage collections to help the sector make concrete contributions, not only by becoming sustainable, the way collections-based organizations operate, but perhaps even more importantly, by changing mindsets and changing behaviors in their communities of users. So that's what you see here is the vision for this initiative, unlocking the potential of the collections, changing mindsets, changing behaviors, and all together, now as a concerted effort to transform our world, leaving no one behind. So in the full spirit of the Agenda 2030, conservation has a critical role to play there in ensuring that collections will be always accessible and in good shape for use as needed. So the strategy that we're adopting is what we're calling triple T, what you see at the center here of the vision. So we're going to provide tools, enhance the toolkit that we'll discuss later on today. So the practical means the how to make these contributions by working with collections. There will be a component of training, building knowledge and skills, in increasing what we are calling the sustainability literacy of collections-based organizations, to feel more confident, to work together, to measure and demonstrate progress towards the SDGs. And then all together within the sector and with the communities of users to help make this transformation. So that's the big idea behind Our Collections Matter. You can look at it in more detail by visiting the ICCROM website. And if you are interested in joining us in this collective journey by getting in touch through this email, we'll show it again at the end of the workshop. And today, so this is work in partnership with various organizations around the world. Today, we are very pleased to be collaborating here with the Center for Sustainable Development and with colleagues Marcia Rins, and then Harry Magee from Curating Tomorrow, who is collaborating also with us in the project. So that's it as in a nutshell, quick intro to the project. And now we'll move on to Henry to set the scene in terms of the SDGs and the 2030 agenda. Over to you, Henry, and thank you everyone for your attention.
Thanks, Jose. So I'll just start this presentation. So this is just a really short presentation to look at how Our Collections Matter connects with Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals. And so I've got the icons for the 17 goals run across the top there. And then we have this really nice logo that's been developed for Our Collections Matter, which, as we'll see, connects very well with one of the core ideas for Sustainable Development Goals. So just in case anyone's not familiar, you might have seen the picture that's shown on the right-hand side there, the 17 icons for the Sustainable Development Goals. I think what's very important always to realize is that the goals don't exist in isolation, and nor do they come from nowhere. They come as a result of a kind of 50-year-long journey trying to help get the world on a path to a better future. And so we had the Millennium Development Goals, which ran from 2000 till 2015. And as those were coming to an end, there was a realize we need a new program, a new, what's the next big agenda going to be? And so this is it's called Transforming Our World, and it includes a very fantastic vision for a better future, which I'll talk about shortly. Although people talk about this as often talk about it as the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, these were developed through a three-year-long consultation exercise with lots of different sectors and stakeholders. So really, it's better to think of them as society's Sustainable Development Goals. And they're a very fantastic set of 17 goals, which might seem a big number. But when we think about our complex and highly connected world, these 17 challenges, we can think of them as challenges, are the kind of shorthand version for how we can get the world on a pathway to a better future. And so one of the ideas that people are perhaps less familiar with is something called the 5 Ps. So we have the overall agenda in the document that I mentioned previously, but it has 5 aims, which are around recognizing the fundamental connections between people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. People, planet, and prosperity are pretty much what we used to think of as the 3 pillars or the 3 dimensions of sustainability. But there's a recognition that for any of this to work, we need peace. We need a firm foundation for sustainable development to happen. So as the line goes, there can be no peace without sustainable development and no sustainable development without peace. And partnership is the way that we actually look at building different connections, different relationships to change the world as it is now into the world that we want. And so I'm just going to pick out some particular comments, but from Transforming Our World, the document I mentioned before. But just to start off is just to remind us all that everyone has the right to a decent standard of living, to education, to participate in cultural life, to access their cultural heritage, and to contribute to the cultural life of the community. These aren't nice to have things. These are fundamental human rights. They're in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And as we emerge from this terrible pandemic, is also a good time to think back to very basic things about fundamental human rights. So the Transforming Our World and the SDGs, they build on all of the existing conventions, agreements, rights, which everyone has, but are kind of often locked up a bit in diplomatic processes. So here we have a set of 17 goals that enable all of society to realize and address the challenges that face all of us. So in the document, it talks about a revitalized global partnership for sustainable development based on a spirit of strengthened global solidarity, why we're all here, I think. And just to take one further passage from the document, that I'll just read it out, that we pledge to foster intercultural understanding, tolerance and mutual respect, and an ethic of global citizenship and shared responsibility. We acknowledge the natural and cultural diversity of the world and recognize that all cultures and civilizations can contribute to and are crucial enablers of sustainable development. So this isn't something that the heritage sector is saying. This is what the collective of the world's governments and society are saying. So I think we can see that there's a very clear connection between what Jose mentioned before as ICCROM's vision and this. So that's, I think, why we're here today. And so that's the end of my presentation. So thank you.
I will be now assign you to the breakout room, so we can discuss more about these sustainable development goals. The breakout rooms are assignment it's random, so the room will be the same for everyone. The rules are the same as before, so to help the discussion, I will suggest you to leave the camera on and enjoy the company of the other people. You could participate in the discussion and talk openly, but we are also going to provide you with different Mentimeter links to express your feelings about this project and the questions posed by us and the other moderators. So the breakout rooms will be recorded, but the contents will not be shared. We plan to share only this first part of Luis and Henry presentation only.
Go ahead, Marcia.
Okay, thank you. So in my room, there were people from Colombia, England, and Sri Lanka, Nigeria, and other places, but mainly we discussed with them who are working at the university, but also with collections. So we had mostly conservator and collection managers. Some of them were here today because they really want to improve sustainability in their museums or institutions, and they are interested in the toolkit and how this could help them. So so far they are not, they try to work with sustainability, but not much, at least as far as I could hear. Enrica from the British Museum of London, she told us that she would like to be more conscious in the choice of materials and avoid materials that comes from certain areas. And Oje from Nigeria, but also other participants also agree with her, and Oje from Nigeria also raised the issue of pest management and how to choose methods that are not toxic and eco-friendly. Then we have Melissa from Colombia. She works with collection and has many issues with object registration. So these were the challenges, and we discussed a lot about this, and those are aspirations to sustainable developments. Then I gave them a glimpse of on the toolkit because they were very eager to see it, and also some of them have to go, so I just show them a little bit. And there was a question from an interesting one from Elena that she was very happy to find those resources and to understand how the toolkit works, but she was wondering if once she finds the right methods, shall she contact them directly or ask ICCROM to help her dealing with this method or resource. So this was very interesting. So I will stop now to allow you to share, and then we can go back to this later maybe.
Should I go next? Yes. So in our breakout room, we're a bit more than 10 people, and people were there for different reasons. So some of them were there to learn more about the relationship between working with collection management and working on sustainable development. Other people were actually already kind of advanced in working with toolkits on how to work with sustainable development and collections. Some even experimented with one toolkit of the ICCROM, of one tool of the ICCROM toolkit. Others added their own tool to the toolkit. So we had a very diverse crowd, I will say. Other people were interested in knowing more on how to integrate sustainability in their teaching materials. So we had people working in museums, people working in university, conservators, and then we discussed indeed how they were already working with sustainable development in their organizations, and they said that they pay attention using alternative materials for storage, or they teach their students what are the latest and best sustainability oriented strategies when working in conservation, or some use risk management tools, some work on advancing techniques to build models that help tracking the relation between conditions and degradations of collections, and with the intent to make solutions more efficient and maybe have less energy consumption. I thought that was a very indeed interesting contribution. Then what else? Other people adapted climate standards to their integrated climate standards into their policy. And then we discussed about aspirations and challenges. In terms of challenges, because we always somehow start from the challenges we experience, right? We spent quite some time talking about accessibility in different ways though. So we made clear that we all somehow experience that accessibility is an issue, accessibility in a physical sense, but also accessibility to knowledge. And then once we get access to collections, then how do we extract knowledge from those which can be useful to develop sustainability-oriented solutions? Then we also talked about the challenge of making collections accessible versus making collections sustainable in terms of conservation. And that's how we made the bridge with some tools that have already been used. So for instance, we talked about how digital tools can help in making collections more accessible. But we also raised another challenge then, because these digital tools don't give the full experience of objects. So for instance, we can touch, we can smell. Sometimes these are also very important experience factors. And then we talked about the main aspiration. I would say that the common aspiration was the balance, reaching balance between the different dimensions of sustainability. Then we also spent some time talking about like making like the educational value of opening up private collections and how this contributes to the SDGs, and that they made the bridge with another very common perceived challenge, which was how do we measure the impact of the sustainability of the collection. And we talk about the difference between quantitative and qualitative indicators, and we consider that sometimes some might seem more important than others, but also there needs to be balance between them. Then to conclude, sorry if I'm taking so long, I think other tools that have been mentioned are, for instance, a short textbook or a concise manual to use in education, and a translation of SDGs for collection practitioners. Someone shared the link to an existing tool, but that's also how we make the bridge with the next breakout room, where we're going to discuss more in depth the ICCROM toolkit. So thank you everyone for contributing to this.
Okay, thanks. I'll go next. So we had a group of 11 people, people from Brazil, Indonesia, Netherlands, and the US, Luxembourg, and UK, obviously, and elsewhere. And we had a sort of wider discussion about some of the, how the idea of sustainability has been around for a long time, and what is it that we're talking about. And people expressed some concerns about how the concept was being used. But we had people who were, I think it's fair to say, mostly conservators, but people who were working in a very broad range of collections and scale of institution, but also at very different stages in their kind of sustainability journey, let's call it that. But what I think I took from everyone was that they were all interested in it. You know, they're all committed to it in some way, but just perhaps less confident in how to use it in a practical sense, which is of course why we're here. And we had some discussion about how people have different projects which perhaps address different aspects of sustainability or sustainable development, but not in a very holistic way. So that you might have a project in a big new building, but someone is the kind of end user of the building without any input and without so much input into the settings and so on of how it's configured. we had discussion about how people are trying to be more efficient in terms of using resources and energy and producing less waste, but not always so confident in whether they're making the right choice because they're unaware of what the options are. We had discussion about a kind of more fundamental discussion about, well, what the role of collections is, or what the roles of collections are, and some of the, what you could call kind of sacred ideas of preservation practice, and whether they are going to be able to continue in terms of the energy that's used to preserve collection, the standards which are used to preserve collections, and whether that is a price that's worth paying in terms of the damage it does to the environment. We had discussions about emerging new practice, that what does it mean if archives no longer take paper records, if everything is digital. And we had some discussion about perhaps how of the Sustainable Development Goals, which may seem less relevant, how you kind of weave them into practice. So we had discussion around gender equality and representation in collections, and around diversifying collections for a greater diversity of artists. And we didn't get to the last one about the toolkit because we ran out of time, but we'll return to that in the next one. So thank you, and I hope that's a fair report.
Okay, thanks, Henry. I'll go next, last but not least. So we also had a fantastic group with diverse professionals, diverse organizations, also different types of collections, from archives to digital. Some of the colleagues in the group were non-collection organizations, so very different perspectives. In terms of why we are here today, so I think first question, it resonates with everyone. So to familiarize ourselves more with the SDGs and the links between collections-based work and the SDGs, to how to more concretely incorporate sustainability, which is out there in the countries and everywhere else agenda, how to concretely incorporate that into our collections-based work, to learn from each other and to share experiences. In terms of how are you working with sustainability in your organization, I think it reflects other groups. Several of us are not, even though the big sustainability word it's out there. So several organizations are not specifically or purposely tackling sustainability, even though, and we discussed that in the group, many of the activities that the organizations do with and around the collections, they already address some of the goals and some of the targets, and oftentimes the organization is not even aware. And that's where our collections matter comes in, to kind of help connect the dots and strengthen our position as a sector, so that we become more conversant, more confident, more comfortable with our work with collections and the links to the Sustainable Development Goals and their targets. So it was also said that sustainability and sustainable development, so it's out there in the ether. So the words are floating around. There's a general awareness about that. But again, how to act in, just with the exception of decarbonizing the operations or becoming more sustainable in the way the organization works, general operations, less energy consumption, less waste, etc. So more concretely with the collections, although there is awareness, there is a will to do more. It's not happening yet, not as much as we would like to see. And that's the gap that we are trying to bridge. And in terms of aspirations or challenges, I don't think we could land everything very concrete. So again, examples of working with communities to raise awareness about climate action, interactions with communities to promote well-being. So this is already happening. also through digital means, use collections for education as a teaching tool. So these are some of the things that are already happening. We discussed that, but we could not, as far as I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, we could not frame a concrete aspiration, even though I think the will is there to do more and to advance the sustainability and sustainable development goals. And then towards the end, in terms of tools, one thing that was mentioned, it will be useful to have tools to help streamline collections-based work with management. So to really have tools to help communicate and measure, how our work with collections can make concrete contributions toward sustainable development in terms of making a strong case to convince management to approve that type of work. So showing the connections and helping us communicate better. So that was a tool that was mentioned to help streamline the work and integrate better sustainability. And then it just occurred to me, and we are already discussing that within our collections matter, a useful tool will be to have a kind of a self-assessment checklist where every organization can go through and self-assess how well or how strongly are we addressing the SDGs as a whole. So I think we're going to start working on that soon, kind of a self-assessment tool for each organization to position itself and to plan for the future. I think that's it in a nutshell. I hope I captured it. Otherwise, please jump in and complete. Thank you.
Thank you so much, all of you, for this great report of what happened in the breakout room. If Luis or Henry or Ilaria have something that came out to their breakout room and would like to share, this is my question, or we can wrap up and conclude this workshop.
If I may quickly, so there was towards the end a comment that the tools are there, the toolkit looks nice, but there is not much case studies or concrete examples. And then towards the end, that's what we were talking about, like, because this is all new to everyone. So we are at this frontier of incorporating sustainable development into our collections-based work. So it's all kind of new to everyone. And what we really would like to have is you guys testing and using the toolkit and coming up with case studies that will help together consolidate and create examples that can be shared with everyone else, so that we build all of this together. I said we are just running a couple of field studies, exactly like exploring the toolkit and see how useful it is, and developing case studies based on that. But the more we have that, and the more you guys engage and everyone engaged with the toolkit and develop such case studies, good or bad, because there will be for sure room for improvement. This is how we'll continue to push the envelope and make it more and more concrete and feasible, and create examples to inspire other organizations and colleagues.
Can I add on to both of those, because we had a similar discussion in our group, that sure. we are just at the very start of this. And I think the way that I would compare it is at the end of the day, like I have it on my wall because I'm really into the SDGs, it's only a picture. And it's like, if we think about it, like in Britain, when people learn to drive, the first thing they have to learn is a little book called the Highway Code. But once you know how to drive, you can go anywhere. And it's a little bit like that. We're just trying to give you the tool to help you to go wherever it is you want with sustainable development. So yeah, it's lovely. Thank you. And thanks very much, Sarah, for your great offer.
Yes, indeed. We're looking forward to hear from you, Sarah, on the results. and as Harry said, so we really would like to invite everyone to join us in this. It's a collective journey of our sector, to become stronger and to contribute to transform the world. So this is our vision, and there's no one, so we have to do it together. If we don't work together and engage the communities through collections, so it will continue to be just a dream. We believe firmly there's great potential there to engage, and we're just at the start of this journey. And the idea that everybody, we do it together, so we walk this path together. And this is, the toolkit is just an aid, not to make it easier. I don't know, Marcia, I think I see Oge hands up.
Yeah, there's a question for.
Okay, please go ahead.
Please, may I know how I can send the feedback to you in case if I try anything on the toolkit, if it works out or if it doesn't work out, how do I get back to you?
Yes, I was going to share a screen with our Collections Matter email address. Please, I mean, any feedback, any question, write us. I don't know, Marcia, when is the best moment to
I think please share. I think it will be very helpful for everybody.
Okay. So the email here under collectionsmatter@icrom.org. Hope to hear a lot from everyone. Anything, feedback on the toolkit, if you want to propose new tools or to new ideas, case studies. So everything most welcome. And as we work together, we'll become stronger and more conversant with the SDGs. Okay, I think I'll stop sharing now. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. And also, we are looking forward to hearing from you. And I see you already sharing emails and in the chat. And thank you.
I would just like to say that I am very, very inspired by this workshop and very thankful to everyone for the discussion. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruna. Thank you so much for being here today. So, yeah, I think we can say goodbye. And if we will be in touch also, we will be sharing this video of the presentation, and we will keep you posted also by email if you like. Okay, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.